The approach that most churches take to hiring designers and other creative positions is outdated, expensive, and most of all, completely impractical. In this series, we are going to discuss the good, better, and best approaches to hiring creatives at your church. I'm your host, Luke Clayton, and welcome to Church Media HQ. All right, before we get started with the content, I wanted to let you know that you can actually get every episode of this series completely free, because that's part of our all new free memberships from Church Media HQ. Our all new forever free memberships. Most designers and creative freelancers, they're going to require some type of upfront payment to start a project. Well, here at Church Media HQ, we're no longer having this requirement, which means that you can send requests for new designs and even get a new website designed at no upfront cost to you. Just send your requirements, our team will deliver designs, and you only pay if you like what you see. Now, this is one of the many features available through our Forever Free plan, and it's available right now at churchmediahq.com. No cost is no longer a barrier for starting your next design or even web project. So start for free at churchmediahq.com. That's churchmediahq.com. And again, if you sign up, you're going to get access to this entire coaching series right now instantly. You don't have to wait for the rest of the episodes to drop. So again, sign up. It's completely free. churchmediahq.com. Welcome to your weekly coaching session that will teach you a new concept, provide creative insight, and maybe even help you avoid a mistake so that you can achieve excellence in your media and marketing. If you find this content helpful, then help out someone else by taking a moment to share this with another leader or creative like yourself. So there's a good chance that you have been handling the bulk of your church's media needs yourself. And you probably realize that you don't have the bandwidth to keep up with all of these needs effectively. You might try one of those library online resources where you log in and you can pick from thousands of graphics to download, and those can be helpful, but ultimately you're still the one who has to do the work so that you can make it happen. You've still got to download that file and rework it to work for you. So it's still a lot of work. So you can't keep up with these overwhelming demands on your own. It's just not going to happen. Things are going to start falling through the cracks. It's just not pretty. So if you're at this point, then that means that you're ready to start delegating these media needs to someone else. And so first of all, I want to congratulate you on coming to this very crucial realization. No organization of any kind can grow without delegation. This isn't a leadership lesson necessarily, but it's just something crucial to realize, and it's very crucial to understand in particular, regards in particular to your creative and media needs. So the good, better, and best approaches to delegating your media and creative needs. That's what we're going to be going over in this series. So let's get started with the good approach. And that is to perhaps delegate to a volunteer. Now, this, of course, isn't technically hiring at all, and it's a pretty common approach in churches in general. Churches and healthy, growing churches tend to have volunteers of all kinds. And, and really from a financial perspective, why would you pay someone when maybe someone else is willing to do it for free? Delegating can work for some creative fields, but it should be avoided for others. Here's some situations where it can work. When it comes to like your worship audio visual operation, the lighting, the soundboard, things like that, maybe even live stream equipment, interacting with church online, interacting using the chat feature, something like that. Maybe you've got someone who can do content proofing or editing, before you got something you're going to publish, they can actually proofread it. Many times there's often some really great photographers or maybe even videographers in the church that are willing willing to take photos and stuff like that. This is all really great positions potentially that could at least be partially filled by some type of volunteer. But you got to make sure you do your research. You got to ask them the questions about their experience. And, you don't want to just, oh, yeah, I'm a photographer, and, they show up with their iPhone. Well, we can all do that. And there's some people out there that can take really great photos with their iPhone, but you really need to ask them about experience and be willing to ask them for a portfolio. Say, well, I'd like to see a portfolio of your work. Because if they are, have been doing it for any period of time in terms of, for example, I'm thinking of photography. Let's use that as an example. And if they genuinely are pursuing this as some type of, maybe side job or something like that, and maybe it's beyond just a hobby, or even if it is like a high level hobby, well, they should have some sample work to show you. They should have a portfolio of work to say, oh yeah, here's what I've done. If you're going to delegate to a volunteer for anything, don't just blindly hand them the reins. Make sure that they do genuinely have experience and expertise in the area, because many times it could be tempting. You're drowning and you just want to hand it off, but you can get yourself into a really sticky situation if they don't know what you're doing. Now, here are some areas where delegating to a volunteer doesn't work, and it really needs to be avoided for. That's going to be the primary design and branding of your church, because in most cases, the more distance and detached a designer is from your church, that can often be a good thing. I'm not saying it always has to be the case, but it actually can be a good thing. And another thing that you want to consider with this is if you delegate this to a volunteer, for example, and maybe it's something with the branding or development of a website or something like that, here's something you have to remember. You cannot fire who you did not hire. You can't fire who you didn't hire. So anyone that says, oh yeah, I'll be your designer, or I'll do your website, and I see this, it's pretty common in churches in particular, but the problem is that they come in and they say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, do your website for you, for example. And then, something happens. They're not getting things updated on time and they're falling behind. Well, it's really hard to fire someone that you never hired. And so these big things that are really crucial to your church's, promotional and creative marketing, such as your website and even your main brand, that really needs to be left to a true professional that you're actually paying, because that way, if they drop the ball, you can let them go and move on. And then another area that you don't want to delegate to a volunteer is anyone who's providing oversight or vision of creative content in that type of leadership capacity. Again, this is not to say that we want to limit volunteers from their capacity of, leading others. That's not what this is about. This is about a very particular department when it comes to your creative and your media and your marketing. This job of oversight and general direction, like talking about, hey, leading the whole creative department, if you will, that is definitely something that needs to be left to someone that you can at least pay. Because again, if there's anybody that you want to be able to have that fallback, obviously this is worst case scenario, but have that fallback of needing to let them go or make a transition, it's the person who is kind of leading the department. And so you want to be able to have that liberty to let them go. And also they're going to be able to give, they're not going to be able to give the time and attention that is needed when there are a volunteer in terms of, actually leading and so forth. So I would say if you are going to do that with, you do want to give somebody in your church maybe that type of leadership, well, consider at least giving them some part-time pay, and then also determining maybe some term limits or contracts, agreements like that, so that things actually, so that way, again, you're able to actually work with that person, because they're the wrong-spirited volunteer, the unhealthy volunteer says, well, you're not paying me, so I'm going to do what I want. And this just helps you avoid that situation. So the bottom line is leaving your primary creative media and marketing responsibilities to a volunteer. That can put you in a position where your church is limited in its capabilities for excellence. Now, as you're making these crucial decisions about delegating and hiring, Church Media HQ wants to help by starting your next design or even web project for free at no upfront cost to you. You start for free at churchmediahq.com. And if you are interested in upgrading your membership, well, be sure to use the code HIRE25, that's HIRE25, to get 25% off any membership. Use code HIRE25 to get this discount, or sign up for free at churchmediahq.com. That's churchmediahq.com. Well, working with volunteers may be a good way to delegate, but next time we are going to look at an even better approach. Until then, stay innovative, keep dreaming, and don't ever stop creating. And I'll see you in the next episode.